What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the best and worst Scourge modifiers you can be using for Morgan's event. We're going to kind of break that all down, talk about some really good combos you could be using, some ones that are a little bit of a trap as you look at them, and some combos that are really not good to use. If you're going to use them in conjunction, like, they'll really screw over your run. And we're just going to kind of break that all down in today's video. So you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful and informative, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. But one thing we got to talk about real quick, I was very critical of the rewards for Morgan's event the other day. And it looks like they have changed them, and they are significantly better now. My big issue was that the red star payouts for Morgan were just not good enough. Only the top 3,000 getting 4 red stars on her. Only the top 10 getting 5 red. And now they've drastically increased the shard payouts here and the red star payout. So now the top 50 get a 5 red, 7 yellow Morgan. The top 500 get a 4 red, 7 yellow Morgan. And it kind of goes down from there. Now, if you want to force 4 red Morgan, you only need to be within the top 6%, which is drastically better than only 3,000 players getting 4 red, considering how expensive these promotions will be and how stingy we are with the dark promo credits. I just didn't think that they were rewarding enough red stars. And then you go down here at the bottom. The bottom 20% didn't even get a red star before. They have increased that now. They get at least a 1 red star Morgan. The one issue that players are calling out, I think it's the 41 to 60 range here. They seem to have nerfed the rewards, so hopefully they get that fixed. I think should get like a little bit less in terms of shards now for Morgan, the 41 to 60% range. So hopefully Scopely gets that fixed here soon before the event finishes up. So just wanted to quickly address that, and let's just start talking about these Scourge modifier rewards. So the way it works is that you have your expected run score. And this can be improved depending on your efficiency, which we don't really quite know how that efficiency is calculated, so I can't really talk about that much. But this is your estimated score. And then as you go through these modifiers, you see each one has a symbol and number next to it. And each of those will increase your score by a set amount. It's not a percentage increase because you can activate them all, and it doesn't like double or triple your score or anything like you would think. But it does add a modifier onto your score. And all of these are set to make your fights much more difficult. Well, not much more difficult. Some will be more difficult than others. Like, for instance, you can see here there's a 20% max health. And we're just kind of going to go through each of them. So right here, you see enemies gain plus 10% max health. And it's a modifier of 1. These aren't really too bad. Some of these are actually are pretty good. They give you a nice little increase in your score without doing too much. Like, for instance, summoned enemies gain 20% max health. That's great, because summoned enemies don't have a lot of max health anyways. They're very easy to take off. So if you add this, like, they still don't have much health. Like, 20% of very little is still very little. So, this is a pretty easy, not a bad one. That's the reason why it's only a +1 on the modifier. But then you start getting into some really crazy ones. Like when a player gains ability energy, and there's a lot of ability energy stuff in here, you got to be careful with these. Apply slow to them. So, if you got someone generating ability energy, be careful, because that slow is going to apply to them. But also this one. When a player character gains ability energy, each enemy deals 8% piercing damage to them. That is going to be really bad, especially with another one here in a little bit. On ally death, enemies gain defense up, which is not bad. Like, if you're feeling pretty good about keeping your characters alive, that's fine. Like, that one's not going to be too much of a problem. Enemies gain 20% max health is a little interesting here. It's a modifier of 5. If you go back and look at the first one here, it's 10% max health with a modifier of 1. And then you have the 20% max health for enemies with a modifier of 5. There is another one here where they gain 30% max health, and it's a modifier of 15. So you're better off selecting the 30% modifier, because it gives you triple the score bonus versus doing a 20 and 10% max health. So that's something to keep in mind. Enemies generate 1 additional ability energy each time they generate ability energy. Yeah, there's a lot of ability energy stuff in here. On enemy death, enemies gain immunity and regeneration, which shouldn't be too bad for certain things. However, for Dark Hunters and Web Warriors, immunity is going to be a big problem, especially with Dark Hunters, because you need applying negative effects for your Dark Hunters to be gaining that speed bar. You definitely need that. So immunity is probably one I would not go for. There's another one where enemies on spawn gain immunity. I would not touch that one at all. When a player character gains ability energy, they gain defense down. When any player character dies, enemies gain 2 ability energy. This also counts for summons, I believe. So be very, very careful of this. If you're doing a lot of summons on your team and they start dying off, this can really make your fight go sideways. So this is one where you have to kind of plan around what you're going to use. Whoops. Yeah. So you have to be very careful of how you're playing things out and choosing your modifiers and your roster at the same time. When an enemy is healed, they gain deflect. Not bad. When an enemy takes damage, they gain speed up for +2 turns. That should be okay. You know, I didn't really notice anything too much of a problem with that. I mean, I'm also using characters that get a lot of speed bar on their own. I'm also using Eternals quite a bit because they can reduce speed bar. So this is not too bad. You know, if you bring in the right combination, you can get Cersei to move first, and then you can just flip that speed up into speed down. So I mean, it kind of negates it out because then they get speed up and speed down with Icarus. But on spawn, enemies gain immunity. Do not use that one. Like I said, Dark Hunters need to apply debuffs, so immunity is really not going to be beneficial for that. That's going to really screw up your runs with Web Warriors and Dark Hunters, especially if you're pushing a high difficulty score. You need to make sure both your Dark Hunters and Web Warriors are good to go. And yeah, immunity on spawn is just not beneficial for those Dark Hunters. When an enemy drops below 50% health, they gain Death Proof. That's not too bad. Player character healing is reduced by 20%. That's also not too bad. I didn't use a lot of healing in my teams, but yeah, if you're really pushing the limits of your roster and you need to make sure your characters are topped off, this is one to keep in mind. You could use healer ISOs a little bit as well to kind of help make your team a little bit better there with the healing. This one here, when a player character takes damage, they gain bleed. Earlier we talked about gain ability energy and all enemies attack them for 8% piercing. This is a no-no with that, because that's a lot of bleeds. So you do not want that. And then also when a player character gains ability energy, they gain defense down for 1 turn per ability energy gained. So you have a combo where they gain ability energy, they get defense down, all enemies attack them for piercing, and then they get bleed on top of it. There's some really, really bad combos here. Like, this is one. A lot of the ability energy stuff is just gross, and I would not use them. When a player character blocks, apply stun to them. Not good. When a player character uses their ultimate, they gain blind. Not good. Enemies gain 30% bonus max health. Modifier 15. This is what I was talking about. 15 here on that modifier versus 5 and 1 for 20 and 10% max health. So yeah, if you're gonna go for bonus max health, you do want you want to go for the highest modifier on that. Another one that you definitely don't want, when a player character drops below 50% max health, apply trauma. I was talking to Dorky Dad about this as well. That one really hurt some of his teams. Like, he was relying on Weapon X quite a bit in his runs, and trauma just, you know, it's not good. Like all you need is someone applying heal block, and you get trauma at the same time, and you are screwed. So this one is definitely one that you want to avoid. When a player character uses the ultimate, all enemies gain 1 ability energy. Player character ultimate abilities cost 1 more ability energy. Yeah, it's just not good. On enemy death, clear all negative effects from enemies. Not, you know, it's okay. Yeah, no. When player character specials cost 1 more ability energy, and when they use their special, they gain ability block. 2 more modifiers. The ability block and the blind on using special and ultimates. No, not a fan of it. On enemy turn, they gain offense up. On turn, apply 2 heal blocks to player characters. There's a lot of really nasty modifiers in here. If you want to go for all of them, that's great. But like some of them, the ones I found like the easiest to run with was like the 30% bonus max health. The summon enemies gain bonus max health as well. That's about, you know, that's a decent modifier score right there already. You know, on enemy turn, they gain offense up. If you're really pushing your roster, you don't want that. There's that first node's got a Lady Death Strike and Silver Samurai that just absolutely slap. So you don't want to worry about that. You do not want the trauma when falling below 50% health. You don't want the, you really don't want to do all these combinations of like ultimates and specials costing more ability energy, giving characters more ability energy when you use abilities, and then like gain heal or gain ability block and blind when using ultimate and specials. Yeah, there's some really gross combos. I would recommend you choose one or the other. Like, I would stack 2 of those. You do not want to really go crazy. And in terms of ability energy, like gain ability energy and enemies attacking for 8% piercing, that's a no-go. I would not do that. In fact, that one seems a little low on the modifier, because like that's a lot of damage you're gonna be taking up front. And I'm trying to remember where it was now. Let me see. Yeah, right here. The fact that that only has a score modifier 3 is a little ridiculous, because like that's a lot of damage your team's gonna take. So, you know, if anybody's getting ability energy, like, yeah, this is one you want to be very careful of. So keep this one in mind as you're going into fights. Like for instance, I know Star-Lord automatically is just gonna like murder your team, but you don't use Star-Lord much anyways. But any character that generates ability energy, like this is one you do not want to use them with. So the fact that this is only a 3-score modifier, yeah, not that good. Player character dies, enemies gain 2 ability energy. We already talked about with summons with that. And player character gains ability energy, they gain defense down. So yeah, like you want to be very careful with the gaining and using ability energy and those specials and ultimates. There's a lot of gross modifiers in here, and maybe there's some combination you guys are gonna find that works really well for you. But I would be very careful of the traumas of the ability block and blinds. Combine that all together with using abilities. Gain ability energy, abilities costing more energy, which is about like half of the modifiers here. They're just ones that I would generally avoid. And really, at the end of the day, this is going to be about how well how big your roster is and what you guys can use to beat it. I mean, at the end of the day, also, this is going to run for 10 days, so you have plenty of time to mix and match and experiment. And when it goes live, we'll be doing some testing and we'll kind of walk through things. They didn't carry my playtest roster like I was hoping, so I couldn't really do a lot of testing. It wasn't really reliable, but yeah, that's really going to wrap it up here. Let me know what you guys think down below. Is there a combination of modifiers you guys are going to use? Is there some you liked or didn't like with these modifiers? Let me know down below. As always, if you guys have enjoyed this video or found it helpful, make sure to like the button, share, and subscribe. I will see you guys next time.